After such a gracious introduction, let me thank the president of this wonderful university, Fraser, for the honor and the invitation of my being the keynote speaker today. I thank my dear elder brother, the chairman of the council, Ben Obi, and all the members of the council. As we celebrate this mission, core values of this development university, which we have all heard today, we must recognize and celebrate the vision, the sacrifice, support, and long-term commitment of the founder of this institution, my leader, and my dear elder brother, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, GCON. I salute you, sir. While we were driving to this event today, I did tell him the sacrifice, the immense sacrifice he's put in, because I'm sure if it was for profit, he wouldn't invest his money here. If it was for profit, he wouldn't even dare go into education. I'm a businessman, so I know where there's profit and where there's not. So I thank you for this sacrifice. The sacrifice is born out of his belief in education. Education remains the biggest tool for development. It's been proved globally that the more educated a country is, the more developed the country is. And nobody have ever been able to say anything otherwise. So I thank you for this vision, and I thank you for the students. I think today, while we're celebrating our founder, it is your day. Recently, I came across a little bit of a story where it says, families will no longer live together. And I got interested in that. And what I read is because of the difficult situation we found ourselves in Africa, particularly in Nigeria today, families are separating. Families are separating and going to live in different countries where they will not have opportunity of living together, because even parents now are asking their younger ones to leave to where they'll find a better life, considering the difficulties that are here. So on that, I must thank the students of this university and thank their parents that are here. You must congratulate yourself. I know some of you want to japa, but please, I thank you for being here. I look at the cultural diversity. When the president was coming here, he told me every state is represented here, and several countries are represented here. And when I look at this, I look at the future of the country. I look at what the impact it will be. You're being trained here to be a leader. And that's what education is all about. Education equips you. It's the only asset, the only currency, the only capital you need for tomorrow. And when you have that, it helps you to build that better and contribute immensely. So for me today, the students, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about leadership and lessons for your own future. And I'm speaking to the young ones Not the people on this side or people on this side. Because I know that your future will be great. And you need to be equipped for that. That is what you're learning here. And that is the journey of leadership. I know today you've seen how Africa, and Nigeria in particular, is in their strength. And often at times we shy away from discussing what brought us here and why we're here and how we can correct it, or we refuse to learn, or have the made believing that our country is different. It cannot change, it cannot be the same thing. But I often disagree. I said, we live in community of nations. All we need to do is to do the right things. Those right things are available to us. This year, one of the 3 Nobel Prize winner for economics, James Robertson, said, cited Nigeria as a country that knows what to do to prosper, but refuses to do it. And he went on to show that your development is intensely linked to your political process. Of course, we followed that famous book by Chinua Achebe, The Trouble with Nigeria. And he said, the trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely a failure of leadership. And he went on to quote, there's nothing wrong with Nigerian character, weather or climate or water. The only thing that is wrong is simply a failure of the leaders to live up to their responsibility. A challenge of showing what leadership is. And you can go on that trajectory. But today we are celebrating our founder, and we have to go with a special. And people ask me every day, so what is leadership? And I'll tell you a story of what happened today. When we were coming here on the flight, the pilot came and said, we're going to fly at a certain level, and if there's a problem in that we should not worry. If there's a problem in that level because of the weather situation now, Hamilton, he will go to a level where we will be comfortable. And when the pilots went into the cockpit, and I turned to the people coming with me, I said, this is leadership. If you're looking for leadership, don't go too far to find it. It's a very simple thing. A leader must be competent. It must be qualified. The only reason why we enter this plane is because we have somebody who is a qualified pilot. If the driver that brought us from the airport have entered this plane, none of us will enter here because he's not qualified. So if you're looking for a leader, it is that simple. A leader must be somebody who has the capacity. And capacity is very simple. It's the ability to do it. I said, even if this pilot was competent and he was staggering as a drunk, I entered this cockpit, none of us will enter here. But he wasn't doing that. A leader must be somebody who has compassion, cares about the people, because what the leadership is all about the people. That is why he came to us, to tell us, because he knows that when the plane starts shaking, we will start feeling what is happening. A leader must be a visionary. So being a visionary, in all this combined, is telling us, please, don't worry, you'll be okay. Imagine if he didn't tell us that and just take off and it starts shaking. We will not. So a leader must be a visionary, a mobilizer of people. He must learn. He must listen. That is why I have learned what they are now transmitting to us. I told them, I said, this is simply what we've chosen. We've chosen our own world. I listened to the young ones when I came into this university, because everywhere I go, I want to listen to the people. How is your school? Fantastic. How is this? Fantastic. How is your VC? Because I will always ask, oh, the VC is good. Because the VC is a leader. How do you feel about your founder? Good man. Because he was a good man. So if he wasn't, they will tell you. Because that's what I tell people. Don't ask the people who will tell you, ask the people who are in it. And they are saying to me, yes, the school is good. I walked down with the VC. I was asking him, do you have school of nursing? Do you have school of medical sciences? Do you have school of, because I want to learn about this school. So I tell people, it's a very simple thing. Because the leader has these qualities I've told you, he must be competent, he must have the capacity, he must have compassion, and it's somebody who is willing to learn. And all these characters I've mentioned, you cannot get it by being tribal. You can't replace tribal with competence. You cannot replace it by religion. If you're competent, you're competent. So when somebody says, Peter is not competent, don't tell them you're an Igbo person. They're not looking for an Igbo person, they're looking for a competent person. Don't replace it with something else. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who is competent. If they say you have no capacity, don't tell them you're from the north. We're not looking for somebody from the north. We're going to somebody with capacity to deliver. And when we're looking for compassion, it's the same thing. In all this, if you now have this, we've refused to embrace again, because I was telling them, we've refused to embrace clear, measurable, and known tenets of development. So we tend to create our own. We tend to create our own. So you have your own statistics. You have your own indices. You have your own excuses. And I said, that is not how a leader works. A leader goes with the known parameters of development. A leader is not somebody who gives an excuse. So don't start telling us, when Frieza took over this university, there's a problem. When I say there's a problem, whenever you take up anything, there must be a problem you will meet. And you are hired to solve it. Frieza, were you not hired? Didn't you come for an interview? You are not hired to start telling them about the problem. You are hired to solve the problem. That's leadership. So don't start reminding them when you came in, what you saw. No, you're hired to solve that problem. And that's what a leader does. And when you have all this, there's a measurable indices of development or of achieving your word as a leader. This university is doing well when he came. There's a few problems. His job is to make it look better. If you see what he was telling me when he came, oh, look at what we are doing. Look at what we want to do. Look at what we want to do. Look at this, look at this. That shows the leadership. He wants to improve on what he met. Not the other way around. Not giving excuses. That shows the sign of a leader. In development, and I'm using Nigeria as the case in point. I know the same problem in Africa, but I'm going to use Nigeria. In development, there's a clear measure of development. And all this is what I was just telling my people when I was coming this morning, because quite frankly, when I asked the chairman, where is the topic I'm going to speak on? He said, when you come, speak on anything. So I'm trying to speak on anything. So this morning, I told the people who were in the plane with me, I said, What am I going to talk about now? What are we going to do? That's why I started with my experience with the panel. I said, the clear measurement of development is what you call Human Development Index. It is number one measure, and it's classified low, medium, high, and very high. And there's a parameter for measuring it. So you can't create or do your own make-believe. And that parameter is number one is health. Health is wealth. The more healthier your country is, the better. And that is measured by life expectancy, the longevity of your life. So it is not something you can claim, I know what I'm doing. No. That measurable that everybody can see is there for everybody to see. You can't create your own. Number two is the education, which is why I said number two actually drives number one. But then you have to be healthy to be able to move on. Number two is the education. It is, you can't create your own. You can't say it doesn't matter, I don't care whether people are educated or not. No. The more a society is educated, the more developed it is. And it's been proven everywhere. So you cannot say, oh, I don't need education. No, if you don't need it, then you're headed south. If you don't have it, you will not develop. Number three is per capita income. That is the quality of life. That is what it is. You cannot create mass poverty and think you can develop. It has never happened anywhere. The more you create poverty, the more you create insecurity, the more you create social oppress, the more you create unrest, the more you create everything that is negative. If you lock all of us here up without any income for 1 week, 2 weeks, nobody knows what we will become. Because people will manifest into different things that they are not used to. So it becomes imperative that you watch these three things and work to pull people out of poverty. Because that's what will help you. And rather than us embrace this developmental, clear, measurable items, we choose to claim excuses. And because I'm going to talk to the young one, because this school says to learn, to question, am I right? And be able to be a leader. So we're training you to be a leader as more, so that you know that you're going to abandon our pre-model, transactional method of talking about development and embrace what is supposed to be. And I'm going to use a few countries of the world to show you how badly we have performed in the past 10 years. I don't want to go and talk about 1960s, because some people will tell you about 60s, about 80s, about this. I want to show you the past 10 years, because that's where you belong. So you will see how bad your country has served, and that what you're going through today is a cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years. There might be one flash of good governance here and there, or in a while, but cumulatively, the leadership of Nigeria failed. And that's why you're seeing this. In 2014, and I'm going to use countries that have the same high population. So it won't be countries that have, because people can give you an example using maybe countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, and everything. These are countries of 5-6 million. So it's good to compare with countries with high population, the same political trajectory as us. To compare, and I'll start with countries like Indonesia. Indonesia is the most populated, Muslim country in the world today. And it has a population of over 250 million. So it's more populated than we are. India, different cultures, different religion, and over 1.2 billion. So it's about 6-7 times Nigeria. Philippines, over 100 million. Vietnam, over 100 million. Bangladesh, over 100 million. These are countries that have similarities like us, have the same background as we are. In terms of political leadership, if you follow these countries, in 20, I'm going to now be able to measure these countries using what I've just told you, which is health, education, and per capita. And overall, use what you can use to measure countries, growth in GDP, because that's what they told us. Our GDP is growing or is coming down and all that. And you can go and study them and see how we have done in the past 10 years. 2014, because as we celebrate this great institution for 20 years, so we'll say this journey started when this university was 10 years old. It started in 2004, so by 2014 it was 10 years. So we're now within 20 years. In 2014, Indonesia had a GDP of about $890 billion. And per capita, which I said you used to measure, was $3,475 in 2014. India, as at then, had a GDP of $2,039 billion and a per capita of about 1,560. Vietnam, in 2014, was about $233 billion with a per capita of 2,550. Philippines, with a GDP of $275.5 billion and a per capita of $2,935 and then Bangladesh was $174 billion and a per capita of $1,108. And Nigeria, at the same time, had a GDP of $574 billion and a per capita of about $3,200. That is where we were in 2014. So you could see that our country, Nigeria, actually, apart from Indonesia, had more per capita than India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Philippines in 2014. Within this period, we were comparable in some other measures. 10 years after, which is now 2023, 2024, Indonesia now has a GDP of $1,445 billion with per capita of about $5,200. which is about 50% growth. Philippines now have a GDP of about $471 billion with a per capita of $4,100. That's a growth of almost 40%. And then you look at India. India today, India is a peculiar case. In 2014, India was not barely about number 10. It was among the 10 biggest economy in terms of GDP. Today is number 5 because they have overtaken UK, France, Italy, Canada. It's actually number 5 and it's predicted that they will go over Germany very soon to be number 4. India is now 3,890,000,000 with a per capita now of $2,678 from 1,560. That is over 50% growth. Bangladesh, a similar situation. They've moved from 174 billion in 2014 to $450 billion with a per capita of 2,550 something. That is where Bangladesh, almost over 100%. And you now have Vietnam, a similar situation. They've all moved from $233 billion. Vietnam is now where they are at $450 something billion with per capita of 4,450. So if you look at all these countries that I've used an example, you will see that the least growth there is Philippines. That had a growth in his per capita from $935,000 to $4,100 of about 40%. And then the Nigeria situation. Nigeria have moved from a GDP of $574 billion in 2014 to a GDP of about $220 billion, below 50% of its GDP in 2014, and per capita is now about 1,000, a third of what it was in 2014. So all you have done all these 10 years is to breed poverty and breed crisis in your system. And it is a simple measure. It's something you will see. When we talk about life expectancy, you will see that all these companies are mentioned, from Indonesia to India to Bangladesh to this, all have life expectancy above 65 years. Nigeria is 53. If you go to education where you can talk about human capital development, it is simple. You will see that they've all improved. Nigeria remains where it is. We are 168 over the country measures. All the countries I mentioned before are below 130. We are 168 of all the countries measured. About 180 countries were measured, and we are 168. So a similar situation that you see in all this. And that is, my dear people, young ones, the reason why I went through this is to urge you. The future is in your hand. The country that is being destroyed today will take its revenge on you. Most people who are destroying it now will be gone by then. So you must embrace a new method of evaluating your existence as leaders. Leaders in different fields. Leaders in fields of business, leaders in fields of banking, and everything. Your measure now will no longer be the primitive measure which we use, which is tribal, which is religious. I'm sure you have heard me say it everywhere. No religion buys bread cheaper. I've been looking for where Muslims buy bread cheaper so I can go there and buy. No place. And no tribe buys fuel cheaper. I saw somebody get an award today because he reduces the price of energy. I'm sure he's not buying it cheaper. He's just using his ingenuity to reduce the price. Or is he buying it cheaper? So we can go where he buys it and buy. He's not buying it cheaper. So Nigerians now spend their time using more than their income for feeding. If you go in Indonesia, where I give an example, Indonesia have one of the best medical insurance today. With over 80% of their people insured, in Nigeria, only about 5% of people have medical insurance. So everybody, and you can go on and on. And what they give you is the excuse. So you must use the measures other people use. Let nobody tell you Nigeria is a poor country. It's a very rich country. It's a country that can feed itself. Today, Ukraine is at war, but Ukraine sent grain to Nigeria to help them fight hunger. Because we are number 109 hungriest country in the world. You must help to change that. All these territories you're seeing are agricultural field. So they tell you about Sambisa Forest. It's an agricultural field. It's a very simple thing. I don't think it will take you more than 3 hours or 4 hours to drive all through the Sambisa Forest. But I can tell you that if you go to Morocco today, from Casablanca to Port of Tangier, it's about 366 kilometers or thereabout. And it takes you 4.5 hours. And on both sides, all you will see is cultivated land that will feed the people. We can't have such places threatening us. It just shows we don't have competent leaders. We have capacity, we have compassion, we have vision to be able to do anything. And that is where you belong. And that is what you have to do. So I urge you, as we celebrate our founder, you could see what you're celebrating today is vision. And that's leadership. Because if he didn't think about it, he wouldn't be here. So we must change our method. You must embrace to live in a society that you can live. You must choose to do what is right today. You must help us to end this suffering of the people. You must choose to live in peace and adopt meritocracy, competency, all this as a measure of selecting those who you live with, you work with, and serve you. You must look at what will benefit the society. You must think for the interest of everybody. You must work to live in a society that is secure. A society that will care for everybody. And it is not rocket science. Other societies are doing it. But it requires people to change their conception and perception and think in the right ways and use the proper ways of measuring development, not adopting their own, not creating their own sin, where you say, Peter, you're not doing well, he'll start shouting at everybody. I say, I know what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is right, or you don't know where I made this country, or do you know what I saw when I came? That is not leadership. Leadership is to say, I'm wrong. Let's do the right thing. Because you're wrong. Nobody knows everything except an idiot. Leadership is about listening. It's about living a life that is exemplary so people can see it. You don't live a life that is wrong and refuses to change. A leader must be a learner. He must listen and he must learn and be able to make the right choices and ensure that those around him are people who are equally competent. You cannot go and hire a conductor as a driver and a driver as a conductor. You will have an accident. They have their jobs. Everybody must do his job. I hope the pilot will take me back. I'm not a pilot. I cannot do his job. And I can tell you, the young girl that flew me here is not more than 27 years. And when I saw her, I said, young girl, how long have you been flying? He said, 2 years. But I entered because he was a qualified pilot. I don't have to say, hey, my daughter is older, please, I won't enter your plane. No. Because she's qualified. And that's the type of better, more organized, more secure, more proper society than we are living today. God bless you all.